Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Ash Carter Exchange on Innovation and National Security. My name is Nick Cohen, and I'm director of the International Strategy Forum here at the Special Competitive Studies Project. And it will be my great honor to be your MC over the next 2 days. We have an exciting 2 days full of programming that will bring together pioneers and champions of innovation from the government, from the private sector, across the scientific community, and among our allies and partners. We're very excited to share this important exchange with you all. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to officially and formally kick off the 2024 Ash Carter Exchange with the following video. Thank you.
Welcome to a moment where history and future converge. Inspired by the indomitable spirit of Dr. Ash Carter, we gather to forge the next chapter in innovation and national security.
Technological change is unstoppable, and we know that, but it is shapeable. And it's going to take the efforts of everybody in this room and so many other rooms to make sure that we bend it for doing good for our society.
Dr. Carter's vision transcended boundaries, recognizing the pivotal role of technology in shaping our world's safety. Today, we honor his legacy, not just in memory, but in action.
Dr. Carter was a personal mentor to many of us at SCSP, and his vision of connecting innovation with national security and bringing together the government, private sector, and academic institutions is at the heart of our mission.
He was, of course, a physicist, a scientist, but more than that, he was just a great human being.
As hard as it is to be here without him, it means so much to be together, to lift up his legacy.
The Ash Carter Exchange on Innovation and National Security is more than a forum. It's a crucible of ideas. Pioneers from the government, private sector, and scientific community come together here, united by a common purpose: to advance collaboration and ensure our nation remains at the forefront of technological prowess.
Ash Carter instinctively understood that we are in the middle of the largest fundamental change in the character of war throughout all of human recorded history. He knew that we must be ready now, and we must be ready in the future.
Innovation is at the heart of this because we spent the last 30 years with an assumption of U.S. dominance that is no longer valid. And if there's one thing I'm trying to communicate above all else, it's a sense of urgency about moving forward.
All the conversation today really showcased that we have moved, that innovation is no longer a foreign language in the Department of Defense. We have institutions now that are really truly following through and that are delivering for our men and women in uniform, and we just have to accelerate.
One of Ash's hallmark phrases was how he continually encouraged everyone in and around the Pentagon to think outside our five-sided box. It was shorthand for his dedication to innovation in many areas: our technology, our operations, our organizations, and our people.
For us to achieve this mission, we must commit to engaging, inspiring, and questioning.
We have to make a fundamental choice, though. If we believe whether AI-related technologies are going to shift more and more toward the realm of certainty or toward the realm of uncertainty.
I think too often, and for those of us that work in the Pentagon, you'll see AI and ML on a bunch of PowerPoint slides. It's true, as if it's the panacea that's going to solve all our problems, and we don't fully understand it.
We as a nation have control over this technology right now. But this is an American leadership opportunity, and the benefits are enormous. The negatives are also very significant. Biological threats, cyber attacks, and then there's all the issues around loss of faith in democracy because of social media.
Today we stand at the precipice of new frontiers in defense, intelligence, and societal resilience. The challenges are great, but the potential is greater.
If there is even a 1% chance that you can make a 1% difference to the problems that we're talking about and reduce the chances that we end up in a war that we don't want to be in, or we end up losing one, even worse, how do you not go do that?
We got a mission, we'll go get it done. That's not false bravado. That's 247 years worth of this is what we do. Failure not an option.
As we stand on the brink of new challenges and opportunities, let's carry forward the spirit of innovation and dedication that has always defined us. In the words of Dr. Ash Carter,
today we have the finest fighting force the world has ever known. But it's also a fact that our military's excellence isn't a birthright. It's not guaranteed. And we can't take it for granted in the 21st century. We have to earn it again and again. And that's what this is all about, innovating to stay the best.
Welcome to the Ash Carter Exchange on Innovation and National Security. Together, let's innovate to be the best for our country and for the future.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me now in welcoming on stage Ms. Ava Carter.
Good morning. I am Ava Carter, Ash's daughter, and on behalf of our family, Stephanie and my brother Will and I want to thank you all for being here for the Ash Carter Exchange. We are excited for 2 days of exceptional talks, new ideas, and connecting with friends and colleagues. I want to start by thanking SCSP, Eric Schmidt, and Ylber and Bajraktari for organizing this star-studded agenda. And I want to thank all of the speakers for sharing their expertise and outlook for the future. I hope to provide a few personal notes about Dad to start this event. I think Dad would look around this room and be thrilled, and he would be honored. First, because I think those of you that know Dad would agree that he would have liked the idea of a legacy. But more importantly, because I think he would have wanted us to come together in his name, not to talk about history, his past work on the Star Wars program, nuclear weapons, or MRAPs, but rather to talk about the future, where technology is taking our world and what we can do to make sure that that happens safely. Dad's love for technology was born from his training as a scientist. His career began following the golden age of nuclear physics, when discoveries that seemed exciting in isolation in the laboratory had massive consequences, both positive and negative, for our society. Many people thought he was sort of unusual in the government environment for thinking so much like a scientist. But I think he was equally unusual in the laboratory for thinking about how his scientific advances shape the world that we live in, our economy, our military, our health, and beyond. My dad always told me that biology today is what physics was in his time, and he inspired me to become a molecular biologist. We saw from COVID how important biosecurity is, and in the next decades, we are going to see how new technologies like CRISPR are going to shape not only medicine, but also bioweapons, population design, climate change, and the food supply. As a scientist, Dad was never going to take my word for it that this would happen. He wanted to know exactly how the CRISPR enzyme Cas9 works and how we know that it works that way. He wanted citations. He wanted to understand deeply, and he wanted to get 2 steps ahead. He believed correctly that innovation cannot happen when science, government, and business exist in isolation. And this core belief is the foundation of this wonderful convening. Dad's death taught us that life is fragile and can be fleeting. But he worked hard to ensure that the work he did and the foundations that he built would not be fragile or fleeting. He would want everyone here to feel confident that while he is gone, we have the knowledge and power to make the changes in the world that he envisioned with us. Dad was most proud of his teaching, both in the classroom at Harvard's Kennedy School and in the halls of the Pentagon. And as a kid, I would help him write the grades on his students' papers when he finished reading them. And for each one, he would tell me about the student. "She's a good egg," was a common refrain. And 9 times out of 10, he would tell me how he was going to hire that student because he saw the potential in them to make change in the world. Many of his students and the people who taught alongside him are here in this room, and he has entrusted you with our nation's security and the future his grandchildren will inherit. Many of you know that Dad had high expectations for the people around him, and he would have high expectations for all of us today, that the conversations here will reach across disciplines and tackle hard problems with data and with strategy. He was a lifelong learner and would expect that everyone showed up here today to learn from experts outside their field and take new information back to their silos. He would expect everyone here to leave this room and turn these conversations into action. Thank you for coming to the Ash Carter Exchange. I'm deeply honored for the opportunity to say a few words this morning, and I look forward to the conversations to come.
We will now hear a few words from SCSP's Ylber Bajraktari.
Oh, Ava. I can wait right here. Okay.
Powerful, welcoming comments. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being with us today. My name is Ylber Bajraktari. I'm with the Special Competitive Studies Project, or SCSP, and from 2015 to 2017, I had the great privilege of serving as Secretary Carter's Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy at the Pentagon. We at SCSP are deeply honored to be co-hosting this event with the Carter family. So thank you so much, Stephanie. Thank you, Ava and Will, for your confidence in Team SCSP to help put together an event that aspires to advance Dr. Carter's incredible legacy. I am particularly grateful to Stephanie for helping conceptualize and organize the exchange. Your strength is true inspiration, so thank you, Stephanie. I also want to thank Julie Park, the CEO of Birch Events DC. Julie was Dr. Carter's right-hand person for nearly 15 years, and she was critical in putting together today's event. So thank you so much, Julie. I also want to thank our speakers and moderators, all 68 of them, who agreed to join us today and tomorrow. Their time is exceptionally valuable, but every one of them agreed enthusiastically to be part of the Ash-Carter Exchange. Next, I want to thank the members of the SCSP team, especially Luke Van Noorden, Dave Zikuzoka, and Paul Lyons, Jennifer Sheehan, Chelsea Holt, Paige Kelly, Sarah Johnson, Mike Gable, and our CEO, Illy. They were instrumental in putting together the exchange. And last but not the least, I would like to thank Dr. Eric Schmidt, whose generosity enabled the creation of SCSP and the convening of today's event. Dr. Carter skillfully recruited Dr. Schmidt from Google to be the inaugural head of the Defense Innovation Board that Dr. Carter created in 2016. And 8 years later, Dr. Schmidt remains as committed to helping our government harness the promise of new technologies to keep America and its allies safe. And as Dr. Schmidt says, this is the most important work of his career. Now, when we first co-organized the exchange last year, Stephanie insisted that this would not be an event that would retrospectively look at Dr. Carter's legacy. Rather, she suggested we put together an event that sought to advance Dr. Carter's legacy, particularly his incredible legacy of connecting innovation and national security. So that remains the purpose of this year's exchange as well, to bring together pioneers and champions of innovation and visionaries like all of you from the government, private sector, and scientific community to examine how to advance collaboration in pursuit of national security. While the purpose remains the same, based on the outpouring of support and collaboration we experienced last year, this time we decided to expand the agenda for the exchange. So we will have 2 days of exchanges this time. I will just quickly preview the agenda here. I won't go through each item, and you can also find the agenda on our event app, but it is my sincerest hope that you all, as attendees, will find the agenda rich and engaging. Now, the theme this year is the future. When he was secretary, Dr. Carter was frequently asked, what is one thing that keeps you up at night? And he would always respond by noting that the one thing he tried to do is look into the future and think about what would keep his successor and his successor's successor up at night. So we wanted to reflect that spirit in each of the agenda items. And similar to last year, we're thrilled to be joined by a lineup of truly exceptional speakers. In particular, I would like to acknowledge those who are returning for the second time. The Honorable Frank Kendall, Secretary of the Air Force, General Mark Milley, the 20th Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Eric Smith, the Commandant of the Marine Corps, the Honorable Liz Schroeder-Randall, President's Homeland Security Advisor, the Honorable Michelle Flournoy, former Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, Dr. Stephanie Tompkins, the Director of DARPA, Doug Beck, the Director of Defense Innovation Unit, and General C.Q. Brown Jr., who's returning this year as the 21st Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. We are honored to have him join us as the keynote speaker this afternoon. Finally, while he was not here last year, but we hope he returns next year, I would like to express our deepest gratitude to Admiral Sir Tony Radakin, Chief of the Defense Staff of the UK Armed Forces, for joining us. The United States is truly fortunate to have so many allies around the world, and particularly fortunate to have the United Kingdom as its closest and strongest ally. So thank you, Admiral Sir, for joining us. Let me end, please, by also drawing your attention to the event behind you, the AI Expo for National Competitiveness. Many of you remember Dr. Carter opening DoD innovation units in the Silicon Valley, in Boston, in Austin, and other places. We wanted to build on that and bring innovation to Washington, D.C. So behind you, we have some 157 exhibitors, 150 events, another 340 speakers, in addition to the 68 we have here, and over 13,000 attendees that we're expecting today and tomorrow. I know we have a packed agenda here at the Exchange, but I sincerely hope that you do visit some of the exhibits and listen to some of the great speakers that will be joining us on the expo floor. With that, thank you again for being with us today. We have done our best to make sure that this exchange advances Dr. Carter's legacy, but that it is also a good use of your time. I hope you will enjoy and learn from the exchanges today. Thank you.
I'm excited now to announce our first speaker at the Ash Carter Exchange. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Dr. Liz Sherwood-Randall, Homeland Security Advisor, to discuss the administration's approach to countering the risks of bioterrorism in the era of tech conversions.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so grateful to be here today with a group of kindred spirits focused on tackling some of the hardest problems we face at the intersection of technology and national security. Ash Carter devoted his life to working in this arena, and many of you are here today because of the impact that he had on you and your careers. I want to recognize a number of people: Ylber Bajraktari, who you just heard from, Eric Schmidt, and the entire team of the Special Competitive Studies Project for helping organize this second annual event. I want to give a special shout out to Julie Park, who does so much to support this and other endeavors in Ash's memory. Let me also thank my colleague and friend, General Mark Milley, for being here with us today and for your leadership over decades, and recognize Ash's successor as the Belfer Center Director, Professor Megan O'Sullivan. I also want to thank Ava Carter for opening this event. I've known Ava since she was a toddler, and she is now a distinguished professor of stem cell biology at Harvard, following in her father's footsteps as a pioneering scientist. In that context, I'm delighted to welcome the whole Carter family here today: Ava, Will, and Stephanie. Thank you, Steph, for your fierce commitment to advancing Ash's legacy. Ash was intensely focused on what he could do to prevent major new threats from emerging, what he called A-list challenges. And this frame of what he called preventive defense, which identifies what we can do now to prevent far more pernicious threats from emerging in the future, is a guiding principle for me as we face the emergence of a whole new category of A-list threats at the intersection of biology, engineering, and artificial intelligence. Given my current duties as the President's Homeland Security Advisor, this is a major concern because of the very real prospect that these technologies, which are largely out in the wild rather than controlled by governments, could be accessed and weaponized by terrorists with potentially catastrophic effects. So I chose to talk with you here today about what we can do to counter biological terrorism and other malicious uses of advances in biotechnology in this era of rapid technology convergence. And just for a little levity, Ash would have thought nothing of inviting you to tackle such a dark topic at this early hour of the day. We all recognize that artificial intelligence has the potential to transform nearly every sector of our society. At the same time that advanced computing and AI have been rapidly developing, we're also witnessing a major transformation in biology, enabled by merging the precision of engineering with the complexity of biology. The cost of DNA sequencing has dropped 9 orders of magnitude since the turn of the century, at a pace faster than Moore's law. This convergence of advanced computing and AI with biology and engineering is giving birth to a new era of digital biology. It's already having a profound impact on how we diagnose and treat diseases, and will lead to advancements in energy and material sciences, in agriculture, and many other fields. The convergence of advanced computing, AI, and biotechnology may well have as great an impact on society as the Industrial Revolution and the digital revolution. A good example of the promise of this technological convergence is the approval in December 2023 of the first ever genetic treatments for sickle cell anemia, a potentially lethal illness that affects approximately 100,000 Americans and 20 million people worldwide. For the first time, thanks to these remarkable new technologies, a gene therapy is now available. It will soon be possible to design treatments tailored to individual genomic sequences. However, these same technological advancements also create novel risks. First, as the capabilities of general-purpose large language models, such as ChatGPT and other algorithms, continue to develop rapidly, they may allow larger numbers of individuals with less formal scientific training to effectively access and manipulate new biotechnologies, and in particular, leverage synthetic biology. While this has the potential to advance the democratization of science, which is a laudable objective, it also threatens to fundamentally alter the national security risk landscape with respect to biothreats. Eventually, these technologies may dramatically lower the bar to manipulating biology. Whereas once upon a time we were most focused on state-based biological threats, we also now have to anticipate that non-state actors, including foreign terrorists and domestic violent extremists, may more easily access tools that could create increasingly dangerous biorisks. Remember the Aum Shinrikyo attack a little more than 30 years ago in Tokyo, when a doomsday cult tried to carry out a mass anthrax attack, fortunately unsuccessfully? 2 years later, they successfully carried out a sarin attack in the Tokyo subway, killing 13 people. Imagine, with the acceleration of biotechnologies, what a sophisticated group with such motivations might be able to do today, and what they might be able to do 10 years from now. Second, biological design tools are transforming scientists' ability to predict and design novel biological molecules and organisms. The potential benefit of new therapeutics and vaccines are tremendous. But these tools may also be used to drive development of novel biological threats or weapons that we are ill-prepared to detect, mitigate, or counter. This creates a special responsibility to establish appropriate laws and regulations to address the risks associated with the advances driven by AI and machine learning, combined with advanced biotechnological equipment. We are committed to working with countries that manufacture and deploy advanced biotechnology and related equipment toward a common understanding of the risks associated with biotechnological development that needs to be safeguarded. With increasing access to biotechnology, the risk landscape continues to evolve rapidly. There are more than 50 maximum biocontainment BSL-4 laboratories that work on the most dangerous pathogens in the world. These are spread over more than 20 countries, and half of them opened their doors in the last 10 years. The boundaries of research for chimeric and synthetic viruses that could be misused by non-state actors continue to expand. One example of the complex dual-use landscape was the synthesis from scratch of horsepox virus in 2017, a close relative of smallpox. The COVID pandemic underscored how interconnected the world is and the dangers that even a single novel pathogen can pose, impacting global health, prosperity, and security around the world. Moving forward, the biological threat landscape will inevitably become increasingly distributed and dynamic. It's likely to rapidly accelerate and be difficult to predict due to the growing frequency of naturally occurring biological events, the rapid proliferation of labs working on high-consequence pathogens, and the potential for novel biological threat design and deployment by a wide range of actors. By contrast, our defenses are often slow, list-based, and focused on legacy biological threats, and it takes years to develop new policies or countermeasures, with development and approval of a new countermeasure often costing more than $1 billion. The United States must therefore lead, not only by ensuring that we are prepared to respond to any biological threat, but also by building safety and security into the fabric of AI-driven biotechnology development to prevent accidental and deliberate bioincidents and ensure that we can realize technology's benefits safely. Although we can lead, we can't do this alone. We need to work intensively with the private sector and the international community to promote best practices for safe and secure biotechnology and biomanufacturing, comprehensively addressing research, innovation, product development, deployment, and monitoring. We are working to strengthen U.S. leadership in biotechnology. On September 12, 2022, President Biden signed an executive order on advancing biotechnology and biomanufacturing innovation for a sustainable, safe, and secure American bioeconomy. The executive order established the National Biotechnology and Biomanufacturing Initiative to strengthen America's bioeconomy, rebuild our supply chains here at home, and support the nation's innovation ecosystem. As part of the EO, the Department of Defense launched the Distributed Bioindustrial Manufacturing Investment Program to strengthen domestic supply chains and sustain America's global prominence in biotechnology, making a $1.2 billion investment in our domestic biomanufacturing to strengthen defense supply chains. This investment prioritizes dual-use applications covering the primary focus areas of food, fuel, fitness, fabrication, and firepower. Meanwhile, the private sector has also accelerated investment in biomanufacturing, adding to the over $20 billion in biofacturing investment commitments that have been announced for progress across the country since 2021. As the President stated in National Security Memorandum 15, which was published in October 2022, few other national security threats are capable of producing catastrophic and potentially existential global consequences at the scale and speed of biological threats. Preparing for and preventing these biological events is therefore a core pillar of our national security strategy and our national biodefense strategy. Our national biodefense strategy envisions, and I quote, a world free from catastrophic biological incidents, unquote, and charts out an ambitious 5 to 10-year vision for developing moonshot capabilities for pandemic preparedness. These include the ability to develop new vaccines within 100 days, repurpose therapeutics within 90 days, and launch pathogen-agnostic diagnostics within 12 hours of a pandemic. We're seeking to leverage the promise of AI and new biotechnologies in pursuit of these ambitious goals. For example, several of the Department of Energy's national labs are using AI to identify promising novel therapeutic candidates. The Department of Health and Human Services is advancing our capabilities in mRNA vaccine technologies to guard against future pandemics. And we are leading the effort to strengthen health security across the globe. Last month, we launched the Global Health Security Strategy and reached the ambitious goal of directly supporting 50 countries in building their health security capacity, which is one of the most powerful prevention tools that we have in this space. We need to pair these measures with an equally ambitious effort to prevent accidental and deliberate bioincidents that could result from emerging biotechnologies. At present, our biosafety programs are a patchwork of policies and monitoring efforts across multiple federal, state, local, tribal, and territorial agencies. Oversight of risks from biotechnologies is fragmented domestically and globally. There is no one single entity within the United States that owns this mission, and governments across the world are routinely challenged in their ability to rapidly address new biological risks. We are therefore pursuing 4 major courses of action to safeguard biotechnology in the age of AI. First, we are enhancing our biosecurity safeguards. Just yesterday, we released a new policy for oversight of research with dual-use concerns. This revised policy marks a major new step in modernizing our biorisk management. It expands the scope of research that is subject to oversight and streamlines oversight of research of concern across the entire U.S. government, setting a new global standard for effective research oversight. And we are taking additional steps to enhance safeguards. To cause harm, malevolent actors would need to translate computer-generated designs and protocols into the physical world. This often starts with gene synthesis. Just last week, we introduced a new updated framework for gene synthesis screening, which will impose mandatory safeguards on the purchase of synthetic DNA and RNA under federally funded programs. Second, we are driving global and domestic efforts to prevent non-state actors from using weapons of mass destruction, including biological weapons. Last year, President Biden signed a national security memorandum to ensure that the U.S. government is able to prevent, mitigate, and respond to WMD terrorist attacks, including acts of bioterrorism. Combating all dimensions of WMD terrorism requires vigilance and agility given the dynamic threat landscape, and this NSM reinforces that imperative. Third, we're addressing the risks from artificial intelligence. In October of last year, the President released a historic executive order on AI to drive a whole-of-government approach. Supporting this order, the Department of Commerce has established the AI Safety Institute to lead the development of a novel safety and security framework for managing risks from emerging AI technologies. This institute will collaborate closely with industry and with academic partners to conduct rapid risk assessments of new AI models before release, including prominent biosecurity risks. Additionally, the Institute aims to develop safeguards to prevent malicious actors from exploiting these AI tools after release for harmful purposes. And fourth, we are addressing national security risks posed by misuse of biological and health data. Last March, President Biden issued a historic executive order on data security. It outlines measures to protect Americans' sensitive data, including genomic data, from malicious actors who may seek to use bulk sensitive personal data to develop AI capabilities and algorithms that are detrimental to U.S. national security. At the same time, this executive order asks departments and agencies across the government to assess the risks and benefits of regulating multi-omic data transactions. Ash Carter was a driving force in tangibly reducing the risks of nuclear terrorism through intensive international efforts. In the biotechnology arena, it's similarly vital that the United States lead in achieving this transformation in biological risk management. We need to work aggressively to secure global support for a shared set of principles and practices that address how AI and other rapidly evolving technologies may exacerbate the very real threat of bioterrorism. This means, for example, ensuring that countries jointly tackle AI risks, implement effective oversight of dual-use research and gene synthesis screening, and strengthen laboratory biosafety and biosecurity to help thwart the weaponization of biology anywhere in the world. In so doing, we also want to ensure that we and our allies remain world leaders in leveraging the promise of these technologies, while also preparing for and protecting against their malicious uses. The example of Ash Carter's career demonstrates what the pursuit of preventive defense can accomplish. Ash believed in the unique power of our nation's dynamic science and technology ecosystem to drive innovation while also taking responsibility for developing and implementing effective safeguards. As he said, technology is unstoppable, but it is shapeable. And he would appeal to our sense of public purpose, to the very commitment that has brought us here together today, to motivate us to act before it is too late. Thank you.